Hey there, and welcome to a brand new episode of Delivering Marketing Joy. I am your host, Kirby Hassman, and joining me today is a brand new rock star. He's a global-minded marketing executive and consultant, and he's also the creator of the FAPI marketing framework. I can't wait to dig into that. Emiliano Giovannoni, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Kirby. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, cool. And I got the name right?
Yeah, the name perfect. Well done.
Okay. Right. Thanks, buddy. All right. Well, I want to dive right in. There was an article in Forbes magazine talking about the C-suite's high level of dissatisfaction with marketing. What do you think is causing?
There is a lot of data published by online publications and widely distributed showing dissatisfaction with marketing, and I think it goes back a long time. The old saying, half of my marketing isn't working, and I don't know which one, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And there's dissatisfaction from the C-suite or business leadership, but this dissatisfaction swings both ways. I think there's also data that shows marketing teams are not in a great spot. For example, marketing has a very high churn rate in staff. So I think the average tenure of a chief marketing officer is 2.5 years, and the chief financial officer is 7 or 8 years. So there's something obviously not working as well as it could. And I've been working in marketing for the last 20 years, in marketing management for medium and large size organizations and some startups, and all shapes and sizes. And I think what I have seen is maybe where marketing lags behind other disciplines is in the not so much in the availability of talent. Maybe there hasn't been that we've never seen as many resources available to marketers as we have today. Sure. The software that's available, the specialization in marketing disciplines. There are a lot of resources available to organizations to make them succeed in marketing. But where things are not quite as developed as other disciplines is probably in the, I would say, organizational management, where maybe in IT, in engineering, and logistics, in manufacturing, you may see a more mature way of organizing functions, organizing departments and processes and systems, all of that boring stuff. And you may have a Six Sigma sort of approach to manufacturing, for example, that's been developed and refined over the last 50 years, or Kaizen and just-in-time delivery.
Sure.
And there's sort of what concepts or pillars that managers can use to then sort of formulate the best organizational strategy for their teams before they even start looking outwards, at what campaigns, what tactics, and that's where the FAPI marketing framework fits in, and where I think that dissatisfaction in the C-suite, but also with teams in marketing, probably there's an element of maybe there's more attention is needed around organizational planning in marketing. So.
Cool. So you mentioned it. So let's dive into that. I mean, you've created this FAPI marketing framework. Can you talk a little bit about the specific challenges that inspired it?
Yeah, I mean, what inspired it is my personal experience, obviously working in marketing, being in the trenches, and the concept is, FAPI is an acronym, obviously: frame, architecture, production, and insights, and it's what I would define as a sequential process that looks to address the entire marketing process, from the strategy, which is what I call the frame, through to tactical planning and then execution, in a way that it's organized and takes into account the fact that everybody in the organization needs to participate. So one of the pillars is that realistically, the marketing department on its own can't probably, in a medium-sized organization or even in an SME, cannot deliver on marketing results on its own. There are resources needed from sales, from customer services, from product development, from lots of other, and especially from the leadership team. And that's where that's the frame. I call the strategy the frame, because that's where you essentially set the frame, the parameters or the boundaries within which then everything else needs to happen, and they're not negotiable, and they're mission critical, and they're long term. And unless they're crystallized at the most senior level of an organization, then there's already some chinks there that will sort of creep through later on.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of like a 2-second summary of the structure, if you like.
Yeah, no, that's fair. So, and you kind of talked about it. There's challenges when you try to create a comprehensive marketing change. So, what are some of those challenges that you've seen when people try to implement a change like this?
A change like this obviously requires participation from everyone in an organization, and requires commitment from the leadership team. It's not 5 minutes change, if you like. It's a cultural change within an organization. And so anyone who has any experience managing people or managing functions would know that this kind of change takes time and commitment. So I think what's important is, going back to what we were saying earlier, the leadership team, chief marketing officer, board of directors, business owner, really embrace the fact that there is a need to look at the organizational planning within marketing, and everybody plays a role. I use a term within the framework of functional leads, which is essentially middle managers. Everybody needs to play a role and needs to be involved in the process. And the worst that could happen is you end up creating silos and everybody works in isolation. So that's a challenge, because it's a cultural change effectively. And again, going back to that analogy with other industry sectors, I think maybe in other industries, other sectors, professional sectors, there is more of a culture of working, following, I guess, processes, systems like, we were mentioning earlier, Six Sigma for manufacturing is one that always comes to mind. It's part of the culture within manufacturing, it's part of the culture within IT to maybe work based on agile Scrum principles, or but maybe there's less of that less of that culture within marketing. And so there is a need to maybe create that culture, that before great execution can begin, before great creative output can begin, there is a need to set solid foundations, shall we say.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense, to be honest with you, because I mean, like, I think I live in the marketing space, but I'm an entrepreneur. And I think as an entrepreneur, sometimes I just want to, like, okay, cool, there's a problem. I just want to jump in and start doing stuff. Right? Like,
yeah.
So I'm one of the guilty parties, rather than getting together. And I love what you're saying. So if someone's listening to the podcast and they want to do this, they want to create a real change in their marketing, where do they start? How can they use the FAPI framework?
They could start by, first of all, assembling a team, right? So, we're talking about a system that is collaborative. So assembling a team of what I would define, let's say we're talking about small business, maybe not even mid-size, the businessman, the managers, the functional leads, as I would define them, and crystallize some marketing pillars, including objectives, strategic objectives the organization is trying to achieve, and even going as far as the foundational marketing decisions, like your target audience segments and all these pillars, before pushing things on to the next stage, which is what I call the architecture, which is a tactical planning. And the architecture really is where the rubber meets the road, if you like, because it's where the most senior marketing stakeholder would take that strategy and turn it into a blueprint for execution. So that's where the forecasting, resources planning, setting of KPIs, deciding budget allocation, deciding the shape of the team, because based on different objectives or different industry, that's where that chunk of work happens within the architecture. So I would say that's the place to start, and then you can start, you can dive into the execution with a bit more confidence that there's clarity, there are systems, there are processes, and probably that requires a little bit of investment at the beginning in time and resources. There's no doubt about it, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, this has been great, Emiliano. So where can people learn more about you and the FAPI marketing framework?
They can find more information at the website chase5.com, or they can Google the FAPI marketing framework, or find me on LinkedIn, reach out, and I'd love to hear from the audience, any comments or questions.
Yeah, I love it. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you getting up early. We were joking. He's in Brisbane, and it's tomorrow as we record this. So he's way ahead. Yeah, and so he's up really early, and I appreciate you taking the time. This was fun. We'll do it again sometime. Okay.
Great. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of Delivering Marketing Joy. We'll see you next time.